My name is Tom Halverson, and the night my wife told me she was taking my stepdaughter to spend Christmas with her ex-husband, she slammed the kitchen door so hard the windows rattled. She pointed a red polished finger at me and said clear as a church bell, Lily needs her real father. If you don't like it, divorce me. I didn't argue. I wiped sawdust off my hands, opened my old laptop at the kitchen table, and finally accepted the Japan transfer I'd been turning down for years. 1 week later, she came home screaming on my front porch, pounding on the door like she still owned the place. Back then, she really did think she owned everything. It didn't start with the screaming. It started like a regular gray Tuesday in Cedar Falls, Iowa. Went off the river salt on the roads, folks hunched in their coats, just trying to get through another December workday. I put in a full shift at the paper mill, stayed late to quiet a motor that wouldn't stop humming, and swung by high for milk and a rotisserie chicken. When I walked into the house, it smelled like cinnamon and pine. The little artificial tree in the corner was already lit colored lights blinking in the front window. That was Lily's touch. She was 10 and loved Christmas like it was a full-time job. She came sliding into the hallway in sock feet. "Daddy Tom, did you fix the dollhouse roof?" she asked. I held up the small wooden dollhouse I'd been working on in the basement. Marcy had found it beat up at a yard sale. I'd spent 3 evenings sanding and gluing it back together after work. "Give it a try," I said. Lily leaned on the little pink roof with both hands. It didn't move. "I told Mom you could fix it," she said proudly. "You always fix everything?" I wish that had been true. In the kitchen, Marcy stood at the stove with her back to me, stirring a pot of sauce. Her shoulders were tight. I'd learned over the years that you could read her mood just by how high they sat. "Hey," I said, putting the milk in the fridge. "We got the Christmas bonus today. It's not huge, but it'll cover that bike and then some." She didn't look up. "We need to talk," she said. "Those 4 words are never about anything good." "Okay," I said carefully. "About what?" She turned off the burner, set the spoon down, and faced me. She had on a nice blouse lipstick, still perfect from work. It struck me that she dressed more for someone else than for a night at home. "I talked to Rick," she said. Rick, her ex-husband, the man who missed birthdays and parent-teacher conferences, but always had a story about why. About what I asked, though my stomach had already started to knot. About Christmas, she said like it ought to be obvious. He invited us to the cabin this year. He wants to make up for lost time with Lily. She needs her real father in her life. "Tom, Marcy, we already have plans." I said church service, the dinner at St. Luke's, your parents. She cut me off with a little wave of her hand. "We have habits," she said, "not plans. You and your church hall potlucks and folding chairs. Lily deserves a real Christmas with a big cabin and a real tree and her real dad." She hit that word like a hammer. I let that sink in for a second. I thought I was part of that. I said, "I'm the one here. I'm the one reading to her, taking her to the dentist, showing up at school, her mouth twisted." "You're the stepfather?" she said flatly. "Don't make this about you. You knew what you were signing up for. Rick is her actual father. She needs that bond. Maybe if you weren't so simple about everything, you'd understand." Something small and quiet broke inside my chest. Not a dramatic snap, more like an old board finally giving way. "And where do I fit in?" I asked. She shrugged. "You don't, not this time. We're going to the cabin for a week. We leave on the 23rd. If you can't handle that, you can file for divorce, or I will." She said it like she was reading a line off a script she'd rehearsed all afternoon. From the living room, Lily called Mom. "Are we watching the Christmas movie tonight?" Marcy didn't answer. Her eyes stayed on me, waiting for a reaction. I'd given her plenty over the years, pleading, arguing, explaining myself like a teenager caught breaking curfew. This time, I just stood there. I thought about the email from Tokyo sitting flagged in my inbox. Final offer, plant maintenance supervisor, Japan. I turned them down 3 times because Marcy didn't want to leave Iowa or her salon or her parents' house 10 minutes away. I thought about my father who'd worked 35 years at the same factory and used to tell me, "Don't let anybody treat you like you're lucky just to be standing in the room." "I see," I said. My voice sounded calmer than I felt. "When did you tell Lily?" "Yesterday. She said she's excited. She wants to see the snow at the cabin. Rick's picking us up." Of course he was. Okay, I said. I'll stay out of your way. Marcy blinked. That wasn't the line she was expecting. That's it, she demanded. You're not going to yell. Call me selfish. Threatened to call a lawyer. I shook my head. No, I said. Not tonight. She huffed and turned back to the stove, in muttering something about me being spinless. I walked out of the kitchen past the smell of sauce and the stack of unopened mail on the counter and into the living room. Lily had lined up the little wooden family in front of the dollhouse. The dad figure was closest to the door. Movie time? I asked. She grinned. Can we do the black and white one with the angel again? It's a Wonderful Life, I said. Yeah, we can do that. She curled up under my arm with a blanket, her head on my shoulder. On the screen, George Bailey's whole life played out in front of him. All the little sacrifices and quiet moments that nobody else seemed to notice. I watched, but I was thinking about how many times I'd said no to that job overseas. How many nights I'd fixed things in this house, thinking we were building something together. Halfway through, Lily fell asleep. I carried her to bed, tucked the quilt up under her chin, and stood there a minute, listening to her steady breathing. Downstairs, the house felt different, empty somehow, even with Marcy in the bedroom and the TV still murmuring. I sat at the kitchen table, pulled my laptop toward me, and opened the email from Tokyo. Hi, Ken, I typed. If the position is still available, I'd like to accept. The cursor blinked at the end of the sentence. I read it twice, heard my dad's voice again, and hit send. The little whoosh of the email going out sounded louder than it should have in that small kitchen. I didn't pack that night. I didn't leave a note. I just sat there for a while listening to the furnace kick on and the ice maker clunked to life the ordinary noises of a house that suddenly wasn't really mine. I didn't know it yet, but that quiet click of the send button was the first step toward the day. Marcy would stand in front of a judge, red-faced and furious, while the truth finally caught up with her. When the plane touched down at Canada, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, quiet. Not peace exactly, more like the quiet after a storm, when the air still smells like rain and you're not sure if it's really over. Tokyo was bright, even at night, full of lights in motion, but none of it belonged to me. I checked into a modest apartment. My company-arranged tiny kitchen, a single narrow bed, and a window looking out onto a street where businessmen hurried past with black umbrellas. The next morning, I walked to the plant with my supervisor, a man named Kenji, tall, soft-spoken, always smiling politely. He bowed slightly when he introduced me to the crew. They bowed back. Respect, simple, automatic, no strings attached. It felt strange after so many years of walking on eggshells at home. People here work hard, Kenji said as we put on our safety gear. But we also take care of each other. You'll fit in. I nodded, but the truth was I felt like a ghost drifting through someone else's life. During my first week, I kept checking my phone. There were no messages from Marcy. That part didn't surprise me. She could go weeks pretending I didn't exist, if it suited her. But Lily, I kept waiting for something. A question, a picture, anything. So I sent the first message, "Hey, kiddo, hope you're having fun. I'm in Japan now. Miss you." No reply. I tried again a day later. Sent you a little gift. It'll probably take a week to reach you. Love you. Still nothing. A few nights later, I bought a small charm from a convenience store. A little wooden fox, a symbol of protection. I boxed it up and mailed it to Cedar Falls. It cost more than I expected, but I didn't care. Walking back to my apartment, I passed a family father. Mother-daughter laughing as the girl held both their hands and jumped over every crack in the sidewalk. I stopped for a moment watching them disappear around the corner. That's when the guilt hit me. The heavy kind that sits on your chest, like someone's pressing a hand against you. Had I abandoned Lily? Had I really been any better than Rick disappearing when things got hard? I tried to shake it off, telling myself I needed time, space, clarity, but guilt has a way of creeping in like winter drafts through old windows. Every night I checked my email, and every night it was empty. One Saturday I met a younger co-worker named Ditchy for Raymond. He noticed me checking my phone again and again. Waiting for someone, he asked. I hesitated, my daughter or my stepdaughter. He nodded. Complicated. You could say that. He studied me with the same quiet patience I'd seen in the plant. Family matters are never simple, he said gently, but truth always shows itself. I didn't know then how right he would be. The twist came the following Tuesday. I was sitting on my apartment balcony eating vending machine soba when I opened Facebook, something I rarely did. At the top of the feed was a post from a neighbor back in Iowa, a photo. Marcy and Lily standing in front of a large cabin covered in snow. She was wearing a red sweater I recognized because I'd bought it for her last Christmas. And next to them was Rick, her ex-husband, wearing my Christmas sweater, the old green one with the stitched pine tree that Lily loved because she said it looked happy. They all looked happy. A picture-perfect family. Family Christmas at the cabin. The caption read with 2 heart emojis. I stared at that photo until my food went cold. Something stung. Not just jealousy, not just betrayal. It was the realization that she had looked me in the eye, told me Lily needed her real father, and then stepped right into the life she always wanted without me. I zoomed in on the picture, and that's when the second punch hit. Lily wasn't smiling. Not a real one, not the crinkly eye grin she always gave me. She looked confused, a little lost, like a kid who'd been told to stand still for a picture she didn't want to take. That did something to me. Broke something and fixed something all at once. I closed Facebook and rubbed my face with both hands. I could feel the old guilt turning into something else resolve. But the worst was still coming.